Do we have to review the... Okay. I briefly talked about this in the Cartoon Fridays review, but screw it, let's do a full review of it. This is out of Jimmy's head. Back in 2006, Cartoon Network released a half live-action, half-animated film called Reanimated. Some tribute this movie, as well as the show we're going to be looking at today, as part of the temporary Cartoon Network dark period that went on in the late 2000s, along with the other poorly received live-action stuff like their reality shows and game shows. I would go into more depth about this movie, but thankfully some of my fellow reviewers have already done that for me, so... thanks, fellas. For a basic premise of the movie, Jimmy is a 12-year-old kid with weak confidence, a crush on his best friend's sister, and a very eccentric family. While at an in-universe Disneyland knockoff, Jimmy gets pressured into going down into one of the rides to find the dead founder's brain. Don't ask. An accident then ensues, with Jimmy getting hit by a train ride in the park. Naturally, that results in Jimmy needing brain surgery. He's given the previously mentioned brain that he was looking for. Now Jimmy has the ability to see the not Walt Disney, aka Milt Appleday's, characters in real life, even though everyone else around him can't. Also, the evil genius son of Milt Appleday moves into Jimmy's house to steal the brain. The movie served as a pilot for this exact series. It only lasted one season with 20 episodes, and since this is a special review, we're going to be looking at not one, but 2 episodes. This is out of Jimmy's head. The first episode begins with Jimmy and friends in school during a very boring lecture, but then one of the cartoons, Tux, starts doing one of his comedy routines.
Why did the plus sign hate the minus sign? Because he was negative! Zing! Why did the math book visit the psychiatrist? Because he had problems! Zing!
It's like they captured the exact same style of entertainment you get while watching a Dane Cook stand-up. I kid. That's actually Tom Kenny. Yes, SpongeBob is the voice of that penguin. All the voice actors from the movie return, except for Paul Reubens as Golly. Instead, they got Carlos Alazraqui, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, the voice of Rocco and Laszlo, just to name a few characters he's done. And I gotta say, out of all the voice actors, he seems to be the one that's actually trying.
Great job, Tux and Jimmy. You know, had to go through it and you got yourselves an act.
So as bad as this show is, I can at least appreciate the guy for trying. I mean, after all, sometimes we do what we have to do to eat and have a roof over our head, even if it means doing a voice out of Jimmy's head. Anyway, the plot for this episode gets going when the school announces a talent show. Craig, who's portrayed a lot less douchey than he was in the movie, says that him and Jimmy should try a rap routine. Robin, Craig's sister and Jimmy's love interest, hates the idea of a talent show because in her eyes it means that one person is put above so many other people who are deemed the losers.
Why can't people just express themselves for the fun of it? Why does it have to be a contest where the losers feel like losers?
At first you might think this is an overreaction, but no, what this actually is a setup for a really lame-ass running gag.
If it's supposed to make everyone feel special, then why is it a competition?
You're jealous because you don't have a talent.
This talent show is crazy. It's taking something that's supposed to be fun and turning it into a competition.
Oh, sweetie, do you not have a talent?
Somebody doesn't have a talent.
I have talent.
And to point out the obvious, yes, they switched the actors for Craig and Robin from the movie. Not really sure why they did this, but one thing's for sure, they clearly didn't care writing them either because they act nothing like they did in the movie and look nothing like they did in the movie. Who knows, maybe they assumed no one actually watched Reanimated and that nobody would notice. While all that's going on, there's a subplot about Sonny, the villain of the show, hatching one of his harebrained schemes to get the brain. It involves... I don't really care, but it involves the TV in the living room. Yancy, Jimmy's space alien stepsister, yes, really, tells Sonny that he can't have the living room TV because it's not his turn to watch it. The rest of the subplot amounts to Sonny trying to one-up Yancy, but he just ain't smart enough. And still, while nothing special, Sonny is still easily the most entertaining part of this entire show. Back at school, the tryouts for the talent show are going on, and I'm now getting flashbacks to High School Musical. This is not a good thing. Craig drops a bowling ball in his foot as a really desperate way to get out of the audition, so Jimmy goes on stage without him.
Zing, that's his thing. And he thinks he can sing, but I've heard better songs on my mom's cell phone ring. What's hilarious is how bad he is and how sad he is, no doubt. Knock, knock. Who's there? Not funny. Peace out.
Oh, so this is where the YouTube diss track trend came from. It takes not one, but 2 confrontations from the tunes for Jimmy to realize what a dick he's being to Tux. So, with the rip in space and time that was brought on through the subplot, Tux leaves this universe. This makes Jimmy sad and realize what he's done wrong, so that night at the talent show, Jimmy decides to make things right by doing Tux's performance at the beginning of the episode. Tux then comes back, joins with him, and hey look, even Robin joins in because Jimmy's having fun or some crap.
So what? At least he's out there having fun. That's what everyone should do.
I don't see you doing it. She just says this stuff because she doesn't have a talent.
It doesn't really matter since the audience, even Jimmy's family, think this is cringy as hell and leave, even though it does result in this unintentionally funny sight. It's not even like it's that funny, it's just so stupid, it's amusing. Okay, on to the second episode. It's easily the most infamous episode of the show, Sick Day. In this episode, Jimmy, Craig, and Robin play sick so that they can skip school and go on to one of the Golly World rides. Unfortunately, it's shut down.
I knew it. This is a sign. I've been running wild with you and your hoodlum friends. What's next? Baggy pants, crunking, swimming pool horseplay?
Don't look at me like I have the answers. I seriously have no response to that.
Golly, kid, you gotta save her. She's acting like a weird middle-aged person.
Now that I think about it, why is it the humans are wackier than the cartoon characters? I mean, the cartoons spit one-liners and do some random things every once in a while, but compared to the other random stuff, the overacting and the weird behavior coming from the human live-action segments of this show, it feels like it should be the other way around. Yancey and this guy Mike, who turns out to be a werewolf, I seriously don't know how to respond to half the stuff in this show, help them take the parts of the ride and assemble it inside the house. And then we get the most infamous part of this episode, the horrible effects in this. I mean, wow. I know TV budgets are low compared to something like movie budgets and all, but this doesn't even look like amateur YouTube. This looks like something from the early 80s, not something from 2007. So that was At Jimmy's Head, and after rewatching it, I can safely say this feels like they were trying to go for something Nickelodeon would have done. Since Nick was having success with a lot of its sitcoms at the time, it feels like this show was made to try and replicate that on Cartoon Network. For God's sake, they used the same laugh track that they did in those shows.
I'm in. What? I love Jolly, Wally, Smile, whatever right too. Not a form of game plan.
Aside from that, it really is the perfect adaptation of the movie. It's trying way too hard on almost every level, to be funny, to be sincere, and especially to be entertaining. The characters range from bored to just straight up annoying. And again, the cartoons seem more laid back than their human counterparts who are cartoonishly over the top. The whole notion of a kid seeing cartoon characters in real life to the point where he looks like a weirdo takes a back seat to sitcom cliched plots to weird stuff like werewolves and robots running around. This show is like a bad dream you have during a hangover. Part of you wants to remember, the other part is convinced that none of it happened, making Out of Jimmy's Head a weird little time capsule in Cartoon Network history. I'm the Media Whiz, because one art form wasn't enough. And tune in next time, because we're looking at an animated travesty that no one's soon to forget.